The last thing Clara remembered before waking up strapped to a table in a dark room with no windows was taking a drink from a gorgeous woman at the bar. Now that same woman loomed over her, brandishing a knife, giggling excitedly. Brandon had been camping solo in these woods for years successfully, so it made very little sense in his mind when his tent was ripped open like a bag of potato chips and a huge, hairy figure leaped inside, slashing his stomach open. I woke up to the baby gurgling and giggling. When I flipped on the video monitor, his face was so close to the camera I screamed. The monitor is mounted high on his wall. She went downstairs for a glass of water when she sees him sitting quietly on the couch. Slowly, she backs up the stairs. She lives alone. He looked up from his game, which he'd been playing on his phone, and noticed the unfamiliar surroundings. The Uber driver caught his eye and smiled, saying, "I'm going to show you my house," as they got farther and farther away from the city. The woman screamed as she crunched against the front of my car, and the child in her arms went flying. I knew I was too tired to be driving, but why can't I find either of the bodies now? There's been a tickle in my throat all week. I worried it might be COVID, until I woke up to dozens of tiny spiders pouring out of my nose and mouth. I always thought the power to make people suddenly mute would be a really cool trick to use in movie theaters, libraries, and the like. But now that I see the panic it causes, it's clear it really doesn't do the job. The neighbor kid is always following my son around wherever he goes. It would be cute if we hadn't moved cross-country to escape him. The cruise ship company didn't specify what to do in this situation. I'm the only person left alive on a ship with engine failure, and I don't know how to get home. Everything about her new home was wonderful, except the fact that her reflection in the mirror watched her as she showered each day. I used to think my cats were funny for staring into corners and down dark hallways. That is, until one day I began to see what they see. The new street was paved beautifully. There was no way any of the neighbors would complain, especially the one buried in the box under multiple feet of concrete. "You'll love your new school, you'll see," his mother said as he climbed out of the car. He remembered her words as he closed his eyes, huddled with his classmates, the lights out and the doorknob jiggling violently against the flimsy lock. "Please, help me!" the girl screamed at a security guard as a masked figure chased her, brandishing a knife. "I see you've met my colleague," he said as he locked the front doors securely. All around him, the forest burned with hot ferocity, leaving the lake as his only escape route. A large, dark green tentacle shot out from the water, waving, welcoming him in. The woman thought she was drowned until a group of mermaids surrounded her, giving her much-needed oxygen. She thanked them, and they smiled as a gigantic mouth lined with razor-sharp teeth silently crept up from below. "Ouija boards are so dumb, they don't even work," Mary's brother said, crossing his arms. Mary was about to say something when her brother began to scream, for the planchette had launched itself from the board and was buried deep in her brother's eye. It was a still summer day with no wind, and Rosie sat outside enjoying the sunshine. Suddenly, one of the large trees behind her house began to groan and move. It waved to her as it walked away. Rylan sat in the living room of the rented cabin as he struggled to finish his novel before his editor's deadline. A creak of wooden floor disturbed the silence, and when he looked up, he saw a huge man with the head of a deer staring down at him. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed these 2-line scary stories. If you did, please leave a like as it really helps the channel. Thanks again so much for listening. Remember, if you have a story that you'd like me to read, please feel free to send it to my email listed in the description below. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.